Hello, everybody, and welcome to ATL Falcons UK. Well, I say ATL Falcons UK. We're actually going Bucs and Washington this week. So me and Cal are joined by Craig, David, Ben, and Alex to talk about everything that is not about our team because we are not good enough for the playoffs. So to get us rolling, I'm just going to drop the stats of the two teams in terms of passing and everything. So the Bucs have the 7th best offense, whereas Washington have the 30th somehow. Defensively, Bucs are 6th and Washington are 2nd. Passing is 2nd for the Bucs and 25th for Washington, and rushing is 28th for the Bucs and 26th for Washington, which is a tale of two teams really in terms of offense and defense, but both are in the playoffs, and that's more that can be said about us. So, lads, how are you all feeling? Craig, we'll start at the top and work down.
Not too bad. Slightly nervous, but we shouldn't be here.
You shouldn't, but you are, so...
We're nothing to lose. As Ron says, free money.
Love it. Ben, how are you feeling about the playoff stint?
I mean, there shouldn't really be any NFC East teams in the playoffs. They should have just binned it off and put the Cardinals in, to be honest. None of them. I mean, I'm kind of like, I'm looking forward to it because we very rarely ever make the playoffs ever. So it's going to be quite a good opportunity, but I'm just really worried about the offense. Really, really worried about the offense.
Is it kind of a win-win situation? As in, like, you didn't expect to get there. Your division's been pretty trash this year overall, so it's a bit like, even though you get like the higher draft pick, or well, lower basically, but at least you have that exciting game, and it is an exciting game, and you know in the playoffs anything can happen. So
yeah, you take it as a bonus, really. Like,
I think it's one of them.
You just take it as it comes. It is like a bonus. If we win, it's a bigger bonus. If we lose, then we weren't expecting to get you anyway.
Everybody's so positive.
It's always good to host a playoff game. We host one 2015 Packers. I remember rolling out. We started off well. I think we had a safety, and Deshaun Jackson should have ran one in. They could take him back to the 1 yard line, couldn't get in. Field goal, 5-0. I think we maybe went 12-0 up, and then they just came back, blew us out of the water with Rodgers. That's what he does.
That sounds an awful lot like what our team do on a weekly basis. So I feel
they've done that for years and years. They've just been. It hasn't been blowouts and stupid defeats. It's been ridiculous injuries. If you go back through, I'd say the last 5 years and seen the injuries they've had, it's been the quarterbacks. They've had 3 quarterbacks break their leg in a year.
I know but you've made it. But you've made it this far anyway, regardless of everything and performances and your doubt.
Free money we're playing with, whereas the boys are playing with a lot of money.
Yeah. Bucs fans, how are you doing? Seeing as there's so much negativity around Washington, surely you lot are fired up and like this game's on a plate.
Oh, absolutely. You know, after 13 years to be back in the playoffs, it's so exciting, especially after the way this season's gone as well. You know, Brady coming in, and he's been a game changer for us, quite literally. You know, when Winston was with us, we were losing games by 1 score, whereas now we've got Brady, we're now winning those games that we were losing by 1 score. And if we look at the previous 12 of the previous 13 seasons, they have been, apart from that one season under the current Atlanta offensive coordinator, Dirk Cutter, the rest of them were pretty dire.
Whoa. Only another week.
Hey, we love Dirk Cutter.
That guy getting out of it.
But no, this year it's been, to go 11-5, considering how things have been going, to see the likes of Brady and Gronk and the team really change. Bringing these two in has been sensational. And I certainly can't wait to see us in the playoffs. It's going to be really exciting.
I'm not a bit nervous. You make it beat.
Dave,
yeah, same for me. Super excited that we've been in finally in the playoffs after such a long time. You mentioned the stats at sort of the opening of the show, but realistically for both teams, I think you really just need to be looking at the last 5 games.
Yeah,
Since Washington have had Smith back, they've been a different team. I think it's 5 on the row that you've won. Since our bye week, we've come back and won 4 in a row, and since our bye week, we've looked a totally different team. Offensively, everything started to click. Brady and getting the run game going has looked a real sort of powerhouse. So, we're super excited for it. We just can't wait for the game. But, it's 2 good teams, and I think we've got a lot of respect, especially for your quarterback. The way Alex Smith has come back is just fantastic, really, and a lot of respect there for him.
Yeah.
Do you know who Washington's last playoff victory was against?
Yeah, it was us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the last time I saw you, I was there when you beat us 31-30 when you had your big comeback at 24 points.
You like that game?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
We won in Tampa last year too.
Yeah.
I think we won Tampa last year or the year before. Maybe it was Smith's first year, was it? We won Tampa.
Was it 2018?
Yeah. As Alex said,
time you played, I think.
Yeah, but I think, as Alex was saying, all of a sudden you can tell a difference in the Bucs organisation that Brady and Gronk, they've just brought a winning mentality. There's a lot of belief now, and you look at the Falcons. I mean, how many games this year did you score a lot of points? You're right up there. You just didn't have that mentality to finish games off, and it's amazing just what that difference makes.
We've spoke about mentality so much on our show over this season. Talent-wise, we are not as low down as our record suggests. Not even close.
You're better than us, talent-wise, especially on the offense.
On paper, I'd probably agree, to be fair. Our offense is as stacked as most teams, but we've just get that thing where we get 20 points ahead and somehow everybody takes the foot off the gas. And then we get 7, and then it gets to 7 points, and everybody goes, and we've lost the game, and that's it, and then we're done, which is exact opposite to what your team seem to have this year. But it's one of them.
Go back to one point that David made about Alex Smith, just like to come back from like what he did, and then the inspiration, and then get him into the, even though you finished on 7 for 9 or whatever it was, to get him into the playoffs, and then was it 5 wins and 1 loss? It's an absolute credit, and he must be the whole Washington fan base. So I think everyone's behind him as a player for what he's done completely. And I think if he goes on to even beat the Bucs, and I think this is going to be, anything could happen in the playoffs, but if he does, I think you can't. It's just one of the best stories you'll hear for many, many years.
Yeah, I mean, when he came back for that first game, it was a bit scary. Like you say, although we're not Washington fans, we were still watching it and rooting for him on the TV. And every time he took a fair few sacks that first game. And you felt awful for the guy. But, he's seen it through. And like I say, I think if it was a packed stadium and, a lot of people would be rooting for him for the sort of the comeback player position.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to get that comeback award.
Yeah, absolutely deserves it.
If you ever get a chance, watch his documentary.
We have. Yeah, it's outstanding. I think, and that just adds to the respect factor as well. Considering, I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen that documentary, but how far he had to come and how close he was to certain things happening, and to come through that, and to he picked up it was a mirror image, that injury of the Joe Theismann injury when Lawrence Taylor sacked him all those years ago, and that ended Joe Theismann's career. So the fact that Alex Smith managed to get himself back, it's a fairy tale. And as David said, there's absolutely nothing but respect from the Buccaneers side for Alex Smith to get back there. And I'm thrilled he's in the playoffs. Of any of the Washington players, I think Alex Smith deserves it after what he's been through. He's been, what a comeback! Absolutely sensational.
A lot of people are looking at Alex Smith as the reason for sort of like for us coming back. But I think the correlation goes more with not Dwayne Haskins than it being Alex. It's because you could have put really a lot of QBs in, because Alex Smith's average air yards per pass is 5 yards this season since he came back, which is it's not going to beat teams that can beat you. It's like that's why I'm quite worried about Saturday, because our defense has been class all season. It's been so class. The defensive line, even like the secondary, our 7th round pick, Cam Curl's been awesome, but we're not. Alex Smith won't beat a team that is hard to beat. That's why I'm a little bit worried about Saturday, because the Bucs are on fire at the moment. They're just taking apart teams, whereas it's just that's why a lot of people are calling for Taylor Heineke, because they think that he can take a risk and throw a ball down the field. I'm not a guy who thinks Heineke's going to solve all the problems as such, but I don't know. It's just Smith. It's a great comeback story, and you can't not play him. You can't not play him. But I do understand. I do look at it and go, is he going to win us the game?
I mean, having sort of gone through 5 years of James Winston, he could play incredibly, but equally he lost us so many games. I mean, I think it was something ridiculous like 27 of our 36 losses in that period were down to one score.
Yeah.
And he just blows it. And I think that's our expectation when Tom Brady came in, was he wasn't going to be as spectacular as he's turned out to be, but he was just going to be a better decision maker and just keep it safe. And I think, at the end of the day, a lot of times good defenses win championships, and it's not making the mistakes. And I think that's really what the game at the weekend could turn down to. Hopefully Buccaneers offense razzle dazzles and we score a lot, but I actually think it'll be a bit of a trench battle between two great defenses.
We need it to be rainy, cold, just a horrible day. That's what we need on Saturday. Unfortunately,
but luckily Brady's used to that, so.
Well, he is, but are the rest of them, apart from him and Grunt, maybe?
JPP.
Yeah, JPP, he's used to it, yeah.
The list goes on, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, Shaq Barrett when he was in Denver.
Yeah, well, it's hard to think of all them ones. It'll be interesting.
Just looking at that comment there, and Chase is actually is putting out the feelers on Twitter and everything, saying he's coming for Brady. So that one's just exciting anyway, because you know that he's going to go for it. Oh.
I mean, the Chase Young, as far as I'm concerned, he's made a big mistake there, because if he wants to give us motivation to stop him and to really hammer him saying that at the end of that game was perfect, But he ain't going. I mean, don't get me wrong, Chase Young's a great player. No disrespect to him, he's a really good rookie. But Brady's going to still want to prove he's up there, and he's going to want to prove he can still do it. So but not only Chase Young and Brady, I can't wait to see the battle between Tristan Wirfs and Chase Young, because I think they'll be lying up on the same side. And Wirfs for us has been absolutely outstanding as far as we're concerned. What a draft pick. As not just him, we've got a few great picks in the draft, but I think Chase Young and Tristan Wirfs could be a really exciting matchup on the O-line for us and D-line for Washington.
Yeah, that's where I'll go on in the trenches.
I was going to say it's interesting. It's interesting you should say that though, because what the person that's commented just put on saying Sweat coming in as well. So a lot of people like underestimate Sweat. The thing, because obviously Chase Young is like the guy that's came in and made the difference, whereas Montez Sweat, I think I'd put him as probably having a better season than Chase Young this year. Montez Sweat, I just think that people were watching Chase Young because he's the second pick. Montez Sweat had a year, and he's coming. He's actually been probably the stats are probably better for Chase Young as he has forced fumbles and his TD that he got. But Montez Sweat's been more of a consistent problem. He's huge, he's lanky, and he's always got his hands in the air. Yeah, his hands in the air. It's amazing.
They have wacky inflatable arms. But the other two, Allen and Payne, see the amount of pressure they get down the middle. That's where it all stems from, the middle. Them two get the force, and then the other two just swarm in. But then Campbell's been good. Then the brother Van Reeves has been good. Darby, who came across from the Eagles, has been very good. He stayed healthy all season.
I like Reeves.
And then obviously the one they brought back from Kansas, Fuller.
Yes.
Fantastic.
I think certain players just get more credit down to the name, like you said about Chase, and there's so much hype and ego around him, and that's what people seem to buy into. Whereas so many people go under the radar because they've not that full on and like in your face. Whereas for like us, AJ Terrell, our cornerback, is like he's no ego, nothing to him, but he's probably been our best performer in I'd say probably one of our top 5 performers out of all of the players, not just rookies included. And that's just what happens when you keep your mouth closed sometimes. But it'd be a boring sport if you didn't have ego in there every now and again. What have we got? Secondary, anyone?
I don't think it does worry me.
Who's secondary?
I think that's ours. Andy's talking
He's
about
wrong.
there. Yes, it worries me as well. We've got to make sure whoever's in at quarterback for Washington, we have got to get to them quick and fast. If we give the Washington quarterback, I'm saying Washington quarterback because I don't know who's going to play out of your 3 quarterbacks right now, to be honest. But whoever is in there, we've got to make sure we get to them, because if they have a chance to get, to throw a ball over our front seven and really challenge our secondary, we could see problems there. That's where our problems on defense have been all season, and we've seen that. You look at our run stats or stats against the run. I think we're number 1 in the league, if I remember correctly, against the rush. So I'm not concerned about that running game, but certainly if Washington can get their passing game going, it could be interesting.
But
Don't worry about that. Don't even worry about that.
We're number 1 against the run because no one bothers to run against us.
Yeah.
But it all depends whether they play man or zonal defense.
Definitely.
We seem to open up early with zonal, and the youngsters aren't clicked into it. As soon as we go back to man defense, they're a different team. That's secondary, and there's a lot of speed and a lot of power to them. So once they get zoned in, actually their coverage is pretty good.
I mean, a good game that I use as an example, believe it or not, is the game against Kansas, which we did lose. But in the first half, we were playing zone coverage against Mahomes, and he was just having an absolute field day. In the second half, we then switched to man, and I think they scored. If it was only one score, I think it was either touchdown or field goal. I can't remember. Well, what else is it going to be? It was one score that they had in that second half, and that was because we went to man. And we managed to limit Mahomes massively. So as David said, providing we don't open with that zone coverage and focus on the man-to-man, I think we've got a really good chance on Saturday.
Well,
I think what we do is we open on zone just to see what they're playing, and then we adjust to it to suit. But it always gives the team an early chance.
Well, you may score them all in the first half because Washington have conceded 30 points at home all year. And 20 of them were in the first 3 games. We averaged about 6 points a second half against them.
Oh dear! I mean,
that's ridiculous. 30 points in 8 games.
That's a good stat.
I'd like to say everything changes when you're in the playoffs, but if it's that consistent of a start, I don't know about that.
I mean, 20 points in 3 games and then 10 in the last 5 at home.
Just get a safety and you'll beat us 2-0.
We had so many games this year where we would only play one half.
Yeah.
One half would be terrible, the other half would destroy a team. To get 4 quarters in of good football has been a real struggle until the last few.
We don't even get a quarter. Yeah. We get maybe like 5 minutes of good.
I'm really worried about our offense. Like, if you take Logan Thomas. Really, Logan Thomas has been class. He's been such a good free agent pickup. I don't know how. I think that Robert Tonyan should have made the Pro Bowl over Evan Engram, but I think that Logan Thomas should have made it over Evan Engram as well. I think he's been class, and if you can manage to take Terry McLaurin and Logan Thomas out of the game, there is no passing offense at all. There's none.
So you got McKissick, is it?
Yeah, he's
really done quite well the last few weeks.
He's got out of the backfield, but he's just,
a good
I don't know.
Running back. He's a good catch. That's what
and does, really. Your runners, is it Gibson?
Gibson, Barber,
and but the thing is, Gibson, I think he's carrying a slight injury at the moment. We're waiting to see if he's playing. The big grade for us is Peyton Barber, of course. And we always get bitten by ex-players.
Hopefully he does. Yeah, he's only had one decent game. It was against the Cowboys.
The 1.5 yard monster, Peyton Barber. You can get like 1.5 or 2 yards. He's great. Put him in, and it's a 3rd and short. He gets the first down, but anything more than that.
As David said though, our former players always have games against us. So you guys put Peyton Barber in, I bet he'll get rid of those defensive rush defense stats immedately. That's it. Just
we have 2 Achilles heels playing backup quarterback the next players.
Love it. We've got a question in the comments for the football team fans, it says, so I'll drop that on there now and let you cover that. Would you do that anyway, though?
No, I would want us to go and get Stafford.
I wouldn't take it to QB in this year's draft at all.
Well,
Maybe if you're looking at like if you've got a pick in the 4th or something like that, and you see like a gem QB that you think, oh, he could be a project, then take him there. But I said this to someone on Twitter the other day. I don't think I'd be taking a QB in the 1st round, no matter where I was, unless I was like first pick and you got Trevor Lawrence. I don't think I'd take anyone outside of Trevor Lawrence this year. I think I'd be trading for Stafford, try and get Dak.
There's quite a few players this year with shout on them though. You've got Justin Fields that's getting a lot of hype around him, but of course he's got to suit your style of play. You've got Wilson, and there's quite a few names.
Wilson from BYU. He's probably better than Fields.
I think so as well.
This is the thing. Everybody keeps saying that we talk to, but he's not actually rated as highly in most of the mock drafts, saying that he's going to come out in a much lower position. I don't know if that's dependent on the team and where the picks are, but a lot of people are saying that we should use because we've got 4th pick, like guaranteed 4th pick, go for someone like that. But I don't know myself. Winston is coming. Oh, no. Oh dear. And just start coming off the back of the quarterback talk for ourselves, then you are not going for Matt Ryan. Matt is never leaving.
So what do you think of Matt Ryan then?
Honestly, we're massive Matt Ryan lovers. I'll let Cal go actually because he's just vanished.
Yeah, I think we've only been like fans for 2 years, but we've loved him ever since. This year he's not been great, but when you've got an offensive coach like Cotter, how can he be? You can only do so much. But yeah, he's not been great, but he's still put up the yardage, even though and it's not even one of them seasons where we've been behind in so many games, because it's actually we've blown more leads and been actually behind this time. He has got stick, but I think everyone's like saying draft a quarterback, but with the cap space we have, it's absolute. For me, if Fields is there, I think we will take him, but I don't think he will be there. So I wouldn't. I'd like what Ben said earlier. I think what Ben said earlier about if you draft one later in the round and maybe a project more, I'd probably do that. But I wouldn't want to waste not waste, it's a bit hard to say that, but I wouldn't want to use a 4th pick on any of the quarterbacks apart from obviously Trevor Lawrence and maybe Fields, but I don't think any of them will be there personally.
I don't want a Tua situation where you've got Tua and Fitzpatrick both capable of playing number 1. Like Fields will want to be number 1 when you're picking him that highly, whereas if you wait till like 2nd round, 3rd round and see who's left by then, you might get someone that's willing to sit for a few years. And I'm not saying Fields wouldn't as such, but he's good enough to be starting in some teams already, and he just wouldn't over Matt Ryan. And we can't get rid of him because, like Cal said, cap space would fuck us right up. So
has Fitzpatrick played for you yet? Has Fitzpatrick played for you yet?
Could be one day.
Yeah, another team to tick off.
He's still got a few more teams to knock off, yeah.
Next in line, I'll have him number 2.
I'd take
a bit of magic, always good. Yeah, a bit of Fitz magic always helps.
Yeah, we love it.
Wait, modern day Dan. Wait, are we who are we talking here? Are we still talking?
Fitz.
I need some context to that one. We've got a score prediction there just before somebody shoots off. Has anybody got score predictions? It's actually quite early. We'd probably normally do that at the end, but we may as well go for it now whilst it's up.
I'll go 21-17.
Low scoring and close.
Well, we're not going to win a 47-30.
I think you're testing my memory now because I can't remember what I said on our podcast, but I think I went for 27-20. I think it was to the Bucs. So I think it's going to be a close one either way because the playoffs are a completely different animal to the regular season. It's much more cagey affair, and we've got a handful of players who have got that playoff experience, but the majority of our team have never been to the postseason. So I'm more concerned about how our players are going to manage that. I don't know what to expect from the Bucs. So I don't think it's going to be a blowout by either side. I think it's going to be tight, but being a Bucs fan, of course, I think we're going to win it. I think I said 27-20, so I'll say it again. But yeah, going to be a close one, I think.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I think in our podcast I said sort of my brain's telling me it's going to be 24-21, but I'm going for 37-14. Go the whole hog, we're in the playoffs now. If we've not been there for 13 years, let's just go for it.
Go on, Ben. I'll let you finish off.
I'd think about. I like to pride myself on being a realist, so I'm going to go for Bucs win 21-10.
Colour stream.
I admire your honesty, and I wish I was as good as that, because every single week I've said the Falcons are going to win by about 40 points, and it's never happened yet. So I'll take that. Everyone's pretty much going for one-score games, which would make it quite exciting, though. If it was, I'd love it to be decided with literally like a kick at the end of the game or a nice little Hail Mary.
Don't do that.
Yeah, no, we rather it wasn't.
I think we would like it.
I say, as you say, Cal, neutrals are going to want something close. Whereas if you're obviously a Bucs or a Washington fan, in your ideal world, I want the Bucs to win 50-0 or something. In an ideal world, but it's going to be a late one, but it's going to be exciting. I think both teams, as we said, the Bucs first time in 13 years. I mean, no disrespect to the NFC East in general, but it's been quite poor this season. So it's going to be. We weren't sure who we were going to be playing until last weekend. So I think it's just going to be exciting in general for both teams, and let's see what happens. It's going to be a good one.
Like personally, I want. Oh, go on. You can finish off.
I'm just reading the comment there. Couldn't pick a team made him call. To be honest, until the spring of last year, we said exactly the same thing.
I think everyone said it, haven't they? Everyone said it before.
They have, in fairness to them, exceeded all expectation. They have been amazing. Yeah.
Like you said earlier on, it's not just the quality they've brought; it's the whole mentality and the aura around them as well. All the other players. You've got a top quality team anyway, and you have done for the last couple of years, or top quality players in your team, and they've just made everyone raise the game to the level that they play at week in, week out. And I know you've had a few bumps, but unbelievable change.
Just love that comment with my mate, by the way.
Oh, okay. Which one's this? Is it
the one Dolphins fan?
Oh.
He distaste Tom Brady would be the nicest way to put it. When you've been destroyed by him for about 10 years, you can see why. Probably not 20 years.
It's a shame that the Florida teams can't stick together, but there we go.
They have a saying for the Bucs, but I don't really want to say it. I don't know what we're allowed to say.
You can say what you want on here.
It starts with an F, ends with a K.
Oh yeah, go for it.
What is it? My mates will love me telling you this. They say, "Fuck the Bucs."
It's such a weird one with Tom Brady because everybody hates him because he's been so successful, unless you support Patriots. But you can't not love him at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Like I hate him, obviously. Exactly. It's one of them. I don't know if you're into our football, but like Ronaldo and Messi, everybody loves them but hates them at the same time.
Yeah,
Brady's the same. Obviously, we've got an extra bit of bitterness because, well, he twatted us in a Super Bowl. But I mean, other than that, I've got nothing but respect for players like that because no one else.
You can't argue against his record, no matter what.
I agree. I think he's by far one of the best out of a few quarterbacks. But even for me, because I've only been NFL fan for 2 years, or Falcons fan for 2 years, and maybe a season before that, me and Danny got into it a bit. But even before that, we still know everyone knew who Tom Brady was, and even I thought a bit of a smug bastard, to be fair. And I always think that. But it's just one of them things you get off him, but he's got 6 rings on his fingers, so you can't argue against him. That's the problem.
Well, he's not getting 7 this year.
I was going to ask you all next if you've got a an MVP of the game coming up. So, if after following this weekend's game, have you got a player of the game that you'll be expecting to put in a massive performance off your team or theirs? I don't mind either way.
I'd say Wirfs for us, Tristan Wirfs,
yeah,
or Chris Godwin.
Okay, I'll take
Yeah.
Godwin. Godwin's unbelievable.
I'm worried about Chris Godwin.
Yeah.
Very worried about Chris Godwin.
I'm
Harry
gonna.
got mentioned. Go on, sorry, Alex.
Sorry, Dane. I just want to add Antonio Brown to the list. David said as well, only because of how good Antonio Brown was for us last weekend. He looked like the player that was at Pittsburgh last weekend for me. Both him and Godwin with that 1-2 punch over 130 yards each. They both got 2 touchdowns.
He wanted his money last week.
Say again.
He wanted his money last week. That's why he turned up. I would say that was exactly why he turned up last week.
I think he's got another bonus based on 6 touchdowns, and he's got 4 so far. So
he's going to want a big game. And obviously, Mike Evans picked up that injury as well over the weekend, which was it seemed to be worse. It looked worse than I think it actually is. But truth be told, none of us, apart from those inside the Bucs, none of us know what the extent of the injury is. But even if Mike Evans can't play, we've still got the likes of Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Tristan Wirfs, all those players that are more than capable of putting a great performance for us. So, I think that's what we've got from us.
Just coming off the back of that, Antonio Brown, what an acquisition that is out of nowhere. When everybody else turned their eyes away and you just went, go on then, we'll take a chance on you. And they're the kind of ones that you need sometimes.
Absolutely. It's been a sensational signing, as you say. And there was never concern for me about his on-the-field talent. Everyone knows how good he is on the field. It was all the off-the-field issues. And, he did sign, I believe he signed with sort of a one-strike contract, if you like. Bruce Arians said to him, the moment anything happens off the field, you're gone. And he's clearly kept himself on the straight and narrow. And like I say, he's going back to the player that was at Pittsburgh now in terms of on the field. Anyway, he's looking like that player again because certainly at the Raiders, it wasn't a great time for him at the Raiders, and he had that, was it one game I think for New England before he had another issue, and then they released him. But absolutely, Danny, he was a great pickup for us, and even if we only have him just for this year, we've still had him for a season, and that's amazing.
Exactly, especially on a lower, it's not a massive contract or anything either. So it was like low risk, high reward. Really, it was best of both worlds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I can't knock that one.
Brady wanted him, didn't he? Brady wanted to bring him in, and it was like he told Arians that basically he would give him a one chance thing and see how it does, and it looks like it's paid off for the Bucs. It didn't look like it was at a certain point in the season. It looked like it was going to be sort of like he comes, he doesn't really do much, then they let him go. And so I was listening to some podcasts, and they even said that it was the Bucs trying to get him in the game too much was hindering what they were doing.
Yeah.
But now that they've managed to like incorporate him into the game plan with all the other weapons they've had, it looks like a more balanced offense. The Bucs.
Yeah,
I think
we had
go on, David. Sorry.
Difficult period in the first half of the season because we lost for Evans for a couple of games, we lost Godwin for a couple of games. There was no consistency in our receiving core at all, and I think it was just trying to find a gel where actually everybody fitted in. One was playing next right. There was just no consistency to it, and I think they've just sort of found a role for everybody over the last few weeks.
I'd agree with that. Craig, what's your player of the match shout? Either team.
Well, if we have to win, it's probably going to have to be Gibson or Young. That would be it.
If Young was player of the match, then you've done something extremely right.
Hopefully he hits really early, he turns into dust.
I'd like to see McLaurin have a big game, but it just depends on his injury status because he's carrying a knock as well. So what Alex and Dave were saying before about the Bucs secondary, McLaurin just feeds off a bad secondary. He just feeds off it. He's too good man on man with someone. He's too good of a route runner to be able to. I said this in a podcast I did at the start of the season. He's near and on unstoppable when he gets against a decent secondary, but it just depends how fit he is because he's been carrying a knock for a couple of weeks now, and they think he's playing through a high ankle sprain, which is obviously affects like explosiveness. So if he manages to get to a decent amount of fitness, if we win the game, I think you're likely to see that Terry McLaurin's been the big factor in the win.
That makes a lot of sense. I think it's one of them. He's another one of the players that you overlook people like that because you're always looking at the offensive names that are the ones doing the damage on the field, but they're not always the people that are going to affect games like this, especially like you said earlier on. Your records of the previous season mean nothing. Like the season so far mean nothing going into a game like this. It's who's got the ego and the mentality to shit on everyone else, basically. David and Alex, we've got a little question for you there, but that's very presumptuous. Go on, Cal, you go first, and then we'll let the lads look at that.
No, I can definitely see it be a very, obviously with two, I think, what was it, Washington a second, and then Bucs a sixth in defensive. I think it could be a very defensive game. Like, hopefully not like the Super Bowl of a couple of years ago, because that was pretty boring. That was the first one I ever watched, fully. But I think it could be, because obviously the defenses are both very good on both sides. But it'd be good to be as a neutral. If I go into my prediction, I'd love the Washington team to absolutely spank the Bucs, but I don't think it's going to happen personally. But I think it will be a close game because, as what everyone said, it's a playoff game. You've not been in the playoffs for 13 years. It's a long time.
Yeah.
Not all your players have had a playoff game. Luckily, you do have Brady and Gronk who got the experience, but I think Washington have sort of got absolutely nothing to lose at all. And I think that's where there's slightly less pressure on them, or loads of pressures on the Bucs completely. You got the contracts of Brady, Gronk coming in, you got the pressure of them, you got the pressure of the fan base now, you got 13 years out of the playoffs, you got two people who've got like 5 or 6 rings each. I think it's a sort of a win-win for Washington in a weird kind of way.
One of the things that worries me about this is when we play badly, we get a lot of flags. And I think if we get a bit excited and Teddy on the line and start jumping, it could go wrong pretty quickly for us. So discipline's going to be quite important for the Bucs team as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you got any comments on the below, even though it's a little bit forward thinking, but I'll take it anyway.
Well, I mean, from a personal perspective, I can't have us losing to the Saints 3 times in one season. So, I just can't cope with that. So, and especially because they have in the 2 games we did meet them in the regular season, it wasn't even close. They were, we just could not get much going at all. So, from a personal perspective, yes, I can see us getting past some Saints. In a realistic answer, I don't know, because as I said, the postseason is completely different. I've got no idea what to expect from this Buccaneers side in this postseason. I'd like to think we can. I think when we're playing well and we're on form, I think we're as good as any team in the league. I think about what I know. I can see it says all the Packers in Green Bay, but I think about to the game we did have against Green Bay in Tampa, where we absolutely smashed them. We gave Rodgers no time in the pocket, where our pass rush was absolutely brilliant, and we managed to take full advantage. But I don't know, David, you got any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think if it came to the Saints, I think by the time we get there, momentum would be firing for us as well, and it will be a totally different game. And I think we'll quite fancy ourselves, as well as which, if it gets to a championship game, look at the record of the Saints in the last 3 years when it's got in the playoffs. They're a bit like, dare I say it, Atlanta keeping a lead. They're going to be terrified going into them games.
This is your show. This is your show.
They are going to be terrified going into those games, aren't they? Look at how they've lost playoff games in the last 3 years. There's going to be so much pressure riding on them for that I think that we could go there and steal that. Green Bay, it could go anyway. I think that sort of game. That game is up in the cold weather as well. That could be quite a tricky one.
I think Green Bay have properly turned it on since they got that sort of battering by you lot. They've turned it on and absolutely smashed with the rest of the opponents. So I think I think they are favourites from our side, obviously being number 1 seed as well. But Rodgers has been on absolute fire since.
Oh yeah, MVP shout for Rodgers. To be fair, he's got to be up there with the top 2 or 3 names.
Aaron Rodgers is just he's just incredible, and especially when you look at the rest of the Green Bay roster. They've got some other good players on there. Devontae Devontae Adams, a great wide receiver. But but then you look at and their running back as well, whose names completely escape me.
Aaron Jones.
But, thank you, Aaron Jones. Thank you. But you look at the rest of their roster, and you sort of go, there's not really any big names, so to speak. But still good players. But I think it's all coming. Cheers, Pete. I think it. But Aaron Rodgers is certainly an absolutely formidable player, and wherever you come up against him, you've got to be at your best. Otherwise, he's going to really rip you to shreds. So I don't think there'll be any lack of respect from a Buccaneers side. But whoever we play there, we know we're going to have to be at our absolute best to win.
Just out of curiosity, the last 2 times that you played the Saints was Breeze playing? I can't remember off the top of my head because you played them quite early, didn't you? Before
because he played him first game of the season.
First one he played.
It was Tyson Hill, wasn't
it?
Yeah, that's all I was thinking because he's back now. So I was just wondering if that had contributed to the game at all. Spaghetti arm over there, not being bitter at all. Back onto that comment. Best tight in the game. No, Hayden Hurst built like an absolute machine.
No, I think he's talking about this game coming up. He's a Dolphins fan.
Absolutely. No,
that could be true. It could be a good shout, that one, because it's because the Bucs have got more weapons, and Logan Thomas has genuinely been like, I'd say, McLaurin for the first half of the season, but Logan Thomas has been our best consistent weapon, I'd say, across the season. Like under the radar, he had a couple of drops early on, but his
catch and Sunday was phenomenal.
It's great.
I think you'll see a few on Sunday.
Arian chooses our tight ends a lot for blocking, and if playing against a good line like Washington have got, I think he'll use them even more for blocking and to try and protect the pocket. So I think we'll see less receiving out of our tight ends this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We've just got a question about a different game entirely, so that'd be quite a nice little jump onto something else. Hey,
if it hadn't been for your man being out, Stefanski,
at one point, I thought Pittsburgh were going 16-0, and then they have just crashed.
No.
So,
I'm not. If there's any Pittsburgh fans watching, they're certainly not going to like me after I say this. But I didn't think. What did they go to? Was it 12-0 or something, or whether it was
11-0? Yeah.
It was 11-0, and I'm going to change my Twitter name after this. I didn't think they were a great 11-0 team, to be honest with you. I was quite surprised they got to that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going to say the Browns, but that's only because I've gone for them on my Super Bowl challenge. I just go between the two. I've got no logic, no really real reason for that, because while I watch some of Pittsburgh games, I haven't really watched much of the Browns at all. But I just think the Browns might win it. I'm going for the slight underdog, if you like, in that one.
Yeah.
It depends whether the Browns defense shows up, really, because I think there's going to be quite a big stalemate between the Browns offense and the Steelers defense, because they're both explosive in their own ways.
Yeah.
Whereas the Steelers offense is just this kind of like it just, when it goes on a roll, it goes on a roll. Like you saw against the Colts last week when they were down and then they just hit a bit of form. So if the Browns can stop the Steelers offense from heating up any time in the game, I think the Browns. I agree. The Browns can possibly just about play off.
Head coach out, he calls the plays. It won't be the same. So he's the one that calls the plays for no matter what. Baker's here, it will not feel the same. Coaching's about when you're giving out calls to players. It's about feeling for the game. You know how it's going. Whoever's doing that, it's going to be nowhere near. I would have went Browns until I found out that he was out.
Is he out for the game? Is he out for the game? Definitely.
There's a couple of them. I don't know if there's any players now, but I think there's at least 2 coaches are out. He's one of them.
Damn.
So he is, and he's their play caller. So I would have went Browns until I heard that.
they're the things that I've not even considered about any of the playoff games, to be fair. I've not even looked at every single team's COVID lists or if they've got anyone out. So there's a lot more factors in it, isn't there?
That's it. There's still a couple of days to go yet, too.
Well,
Absolutely.
we've got a very big player out in Devin White. He is out, unfortunately, you know. But
Shaq Barrett's back, isn't he?
Shaq Barrett is back. Yes. Kevin Minter was our backup linebacker who stepped in for Devin White over the weekend, and he was absolutely sensational. Devin White is going to be a huge miss, of course, but I think I don't see why both Levante David and Kevin Minter can both have good games again.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely random question there. One that I've not really got much of an opinion on, to be completely honest with you, just out of lack of knowledge, to be honest. But
anyone? Was he a quarterback? Was he a quarterback too? I know Jamarcus was the Raiders, was terrible. Haskins, terrible. Haskins, he still got a chance. But Jamarcus Russell was walking around about 300 pounds on stage.
I think writing anyone off after a season or two is probably a little bit drastic, to be fair, because not everybody peaks that quickly. They're coming fresh from college, aren't they?
Look at Josh Allen now. He's developed in 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
They say it's all about his maturity. So if somebody gets him, can maybe get him to sit for a year behind somebody who's good.
Yeah.
But saying that, Alex Smith had Mahomes, and he had what was one of 49ers. Kaepernick.
Yes.
And then the way it turned out. So if he can, and your man Doug Williams is in the Washington building, and if they can talk sense into him, then you don't know. Like if you're going out to a strip club a night after a loss and your head coach has had cancer, it doesn't say very much for you, does it?
It doesn't at all, does it?
It doesn't back up. His play just doesn't back it up either. He can't be like I'm not saying that Antonio Brown can go and do things he does and not get away with it, but Antonio Brown comes back in the league and he's still one of the better receivers in the league. Haskins he's a terrible player as of now. He's really, really, really bad. And then he's also showing the immaturity. Why do you keep him on the roster in that case? So what's the point?
Yeah. He's got early days Cam Newton mentality, but not the ability to match it up. I mean, Cam Newton's still like that now, but he's semi-earned the right because he had like however many good years and now he's just fizzled. But he's got that kind of mentality. Just while we're on the quarterback situation.
Yes. I think the Bills.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think the Bills can beat them. Yeah, absolutely.
I think if it's one team that's going to beat them, it's got to be the Bills. And I think if that'll be the championship game, and I think that'll be an absolute beauty of a game. I think it'll be close, but I think it'll be a cracking game.
Yeah. Be about 55, 53.
Yeah, definitely.
They're the kind of games that we want to watch. We're all neutrals for it. I mean, this is a bad shout, but initially at the start of the season, I had the Ravens on for the Super Bowl, and that thought has just gone now because I can't see them even getting through the next game. So, if you minus your teams out of the equation, do any of you have a shout for the Super Bowl? Is it Bucs or KC, or have you got anyone else as a bit of a long shot?
Bills.
I think the Bills. Yeah, I think the Bills are going to do it. If you take the Bucs out, I think, because obviously I want to say Bucs, of course, but if we're talking a neutral perspective, I think the Bills are going to have a really good shot at it. Really do.
If the Chiefs don't get there, but the Packers do, the Packers will win. That's only if the Chiefs don't get there.
So you think that the Packers can beat the Bills, but they can't beat the Chiefs?
Yes, I've just got something about it.
I think the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs win it. I think that people really underestimate the Chiefs' defense. Like,
they haven't even turned up this season yet. That's a scary thing. They've just coasted. They're just on. Like,
the thing is about the Chiefs, like people say, oh, they don't look quite as explosive. They're just on cruise control. They're not even trying. They're literally not even trying.
Yeah. I said Ravens, but it can't happen.
I'd like to see the Titans get far. I like the Titans.
I think they had their shot last year and they blew it.
Yes.
They were 24 up against the Packers.
I wanted obviously the Cardinals didn't end up getting in it, but that was one of the teams that, because obviously when I first got into the NFL watching All or Nothing, Cardinals was one of the things I actually like. You sort of had a soft spot to. I didn't end up picking them as a team, but it was one of the teams that I probably would have followed to the Super Bowl if he obviously got in the playoffs. But they absolutely They bottled it this year.
They really did bottle it. It was a proper bottle job.
How did you land on the Falcons?
That one. Well, this is a really, really boring story, and you're not going to enjoy it. We did do you know these like online quizzes and stuff like that? Yeah, we did.
Oh yeah.
That's how we fell into it.
I'll do.
What we should have done is sat on it for a while, seen a team's playing style, followed some more players and stuff, but we were too impulsive. Well, not too impulsive because I wouldn't change it for the world, but we were extremely impulsive, and now we are stuck for life. And fuck is. But no, we're in it for the long game. So
if you have 30 years like I've had, then I'll come back to me.
I'll just jump back onto that question because I think that's how big is it? I don't know. I know they rested a lot of players, but I think at this stage of the season, everybody's at maximum performance level anyway. I know you get tired legs, but they're all professional athletes. I don't think.
Have you seen Pat Mahomes?
I know. I just think they're a machine. They're just a machine. That Casey are just a machine. They just keep rolling, and they just steamroll people like however they want to. They can go slow, they can go fast. They just win games.
Yeah. I'd agree.
I think Pat Mahomes he's a different species, isn't he? To be fair, the way he plays the game, like Rodgers was probably the MVP this year, but the way Mahomes plays the games it's seconds and on. It's absolutely ridiculous. Times he makes it look so easy. You just like.
It's when you see them down by 5 with like a minute to go, and then they just cruise down the field and score a touchdown. Every week.
Mental. He does things that nobody else. You wouldn't put money on anyone else doing half the things that
he does. It so easy too.
Yeah, and like you said, they look like second gear all the time, just plodding along. Yeah, that'll do for now, and then absolutely pisses on it. Just after all of your arguments, I'm saying Bills probably are quite popular this year, though, based off all of that. So I think we'll put a little poll out to see what everybody thinks. But do you know what? I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to keep with the Ravens, even though they're going to get battered in the next game. But I said it at the start of the season, so I'll follow it. I will die on this hill. I will go with the Ravens. Just out of curiosity for everyone, there's loads of talks about Watson leaving Texans. I'm just wondering if anybody's got any shouts of where he'd go or anything like that.
I'll give 2 first-round picks for him.
Would you actually?
No problem.
They should see Washington Twitter's absolutely crazy. There's people saying I saw one thing saying that they'd give 3 firsts and 3 seconds and Jonathan Allen for him. It's serious. Loads of people have retweeted and liked it and stuff. And I'm like, I thought myself at first, I thought, funny joke. And then loads of people are like, yes, give the house. I'm like, that we've done it before with RG3.
2 firsts and Allen Collins, and we don't need Collins. They've got Cam Curry. And Collins was terrible.
We don't need Collins, but I just think 2 firsts. For me, the highest I'd probably go is a first, a third, and then probably Landon Collins. I just think you can build a team. We could get Dak for less, and I don't think Dak's like a huge amount worse than Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson, no, Dak is not close to Deshaun Watson. He's good, but he's not close.
You know what? I actually quite like Dak, to be fair, because he started the season like very, very good before obviously his injury and everything like that. But no, I like him. And I think, like you said, on a financial basis, I don't think it'd be worth going for Watson when you could get Dak and then still keep some of your picks and stuff like that.
I think Dak wants more than Watson has.
Does he want
I don't think he'll get it now.
Project, though. Like, is he going to get it?
I think the Cowboys end up keeping him.
I was gonna say I don't actually think he'll leave because he doesn't need to take that much because he's got all of the Cowboys endorsements that he gets for his paychecks. But I just think with Dak, like I've done a complete 180 on the start of this season. Like I thought Dak was quite overrated, and then this season I saw how he was playing, and then how the Cowboys completely fell off when he got injured. And it's like that's an actual like substantial difference in how much the Cowboys' quality of play without Dak.
But it's keeping him fit anyway.
I'd trade Riot. No, whoever said that comment, I will find you on Twitter and I will block you hard. Oh my God. But no, it's a fair enough shout. I know there's a lot of people calling for moves like that. I just think that's a bold one. change the game by himself. Yeah, I see that. To be fair, there are different players, and I suppose it's dependent on your play style. But I'm not fussy either way. We're keeping Matt Ryan either way, so that's it.
You think so? I don't know. I think Mally Ace is going to be going somewhere else.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if Matt. I'm not a huge Matt Ryan fan. Don't kick me from the call.
right.
Damn.
Do you know what? It's one of them. He's such a talking point for everyone because when you watch him week in, week out, he is brilliant. But then you also watch him and you see a 15 yards of space, and he will not run into it. He will, whatever he does, he will not run into it. He'll stand there and then he'll just go like that with a ball out of play. And you think pretty much 75% of the quarterbacks in the league would have just taken them steps, got the yard, and wrote it off. But he's so scared of being hit. But then again, that's why he's only missed 2-3 games in his entire career. So it's one of them.
He's definitely been consistent over the years. He's like 12, 13 years. You'd never get someone so consistent.
Yeah, he's been a great quarterback.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. As a Bucs fan, I can't stand him, but that's mainly because whenever the Falcons played us, particularly before this season, the record's a bit nicer now from a Bucs perspective. But I think prior to these two games, I think of the previous 7, the Falcons have won 6 against us, the Bucs.
Yeah.
And so the reason I couldn't stand Matt Ryan is because he was always playing outstandingly against us. And naturally, as a fan of your own team, you're gonna dislike a player who's ripping you to shreds. But his quality can't be denied. Whether or not I like him is irrelevant. Matt Ryan has got quality, and you can't deny that.
He's a Hall, whether people like it or not, ring on his finger or not, he's going to be a Hall of Famer purely based off his stats because he's ranked in the top 5 for pretty much every quarterback stat there is, and he's still got 2 or 3 years left in him at like a decent level, I'd say, dependent on which coordinator comes in for us and goes, get out of here, possibly, but you never know. What we're looking at, I would trade the Falcons. That is
holy shit!
That is passion.
That was something you'd have.
I'm about to say, whoever's made that comment about the trading the Falcons 2020 draft class, maybe ask the Saints how it went when they traded their draft class for running back all those years ago.
Yeah,
I think that's the one thing that because there's no major sort of top end defensive end this year. I think that's one thing we're sort of, as fans, we wouldn't mind trading down. I think me and Danny spoke about it. Depending who's actually there, we could trade down even a few spots if someone wants the 4th spot and you get a future first next year or whatever. But I think they've not. I can't remember. Is it that guy from Miami? Is it that Rosu who? He wasn't in this year's. He didn't play this year. He opted out. So I think he's got so many.
Yeah.
So I think we could get him around 9 or 10, depending. So I think we could trade down, which I wouldn't mind doing personally. But I think it just depends what. I think as fans now, even though it's quite an exciting time because we've only been fans a couple of years, but we've got a new head coach, new GM coming in, and.
Oh, Steve, we'll talk to you on the forum about that.
Oh my god!
It looks like the Bucs fans are out for you tonight, guys. Steve,
right, you're close from wrapping up the show this.
He's a top 11 then.
Yeah, top 11.
But no, everybody's entitled to their opinion. He's not the most exciting quarterback to watch, which is why I get the takes on him. Everybody wants someone mobile now that can either run 20 yards, throw it 80 yards, and do all the little tricks and steps.
But we haven't got one.
No, we haven't either.
You've not. You're also in the playoffs, and you know what it feels like to win. So,
for the first time in 13 years, we know what it feels like to win. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had a really mobile quarterback for the last 5 years, and look where that got us.
Well, no. He got us to 30 interceptions last year. That's where it got us to.
We've not had that feeling though. Obviously, being fans only 2 years, we've not had that playoff game of excitement. So, especially you Bucs fans, 13 years. It must be you must be buzzing for this Saturday. Even absolutely. 5 years for the Washington fans. I don't think you two expected to be in the playoffs by the end of the season, and you are, and we all know what.
I mean, it's been 13 quite horrible seasons, but I mean, really, since the end of last season, the Bucs have gone absolutely all in with everything this year. From getting Brady, Gronk, AB, everybody.
Yeah.
Everything has been geared up to win or bust this year. I've not had a season ever like it.
No.
So everything they've done is all about win now. So, God, they better do it.
Right, lads, I think we'll pretty much start to wrap it up for the night. I'm going to give you all the opportunity to say one more comment about the game. So whether it's something you're looking forward to or a player or I don't know, just some like little hot take, and then we'll wrap it up for the night and get ready for the weekend. So go on, Alex, we'll start at the bottom and work up this time. Anything that you think people should look out for, maybe from a neutral perspective, actually, because obviously your fans and Washington fans know what's going on, but we've not watched anywhere near as many of your games. So who we've got eyes on?
I think if like you say, if you're talking about sort of neutral, I think just watch our passing attack. Watch Brady in the pocket. Watch the options on the weapons we've got that we can use. We're not a one-dimensional team. We've got Ronald Jones as well, who he's come on amazingly this season, and he got so close to his 100 yards as well. Sorry, 1,000 yards. Sorry, he got so close to his 1,000 yards. Yeah, it's been a long week. So he got so close to his 1,000. So we've got a lot of versatility on our offense. So that's a really exciting part of our game to watch, and just ignore our secondary on defense. Don't worry about them, but certainly watch our offense. And on a personal perspective, I'm just immensely looking forward to this. I've only been a Bucs fan for 8 years, so this is my first time seeing the Bucs in the playoffs. So I just can't wait to enjoy it and just see what happens. I'm going to take it all in my stride and just really, really enjoy this.
The jealousy is burning through my body. David, we'll go to you and then we'll move to Washington fans.
Yeah, just so excited. I'm absolutely gutted I can't be there for it, I have to say. But yeah, I think it's going to be a real battle in the trenches between those two lines. I think that's going to be the real thing to see and how that pans out. And somewhere along the line, there's going to be one big splash play that opens the whole game up.
I want a nice little 60-yard ping over the top and then absolutely no one around him. I don't care who runs it or who catches it. I just want excitement.
It'll not be us.
Go on, Ben, have you got anything before we wrap it up?
I'm similar. I'm just kind of happy to be here in the situation, to be able to watch a playoff game and it actually be Washington in the playoffs rather than sitting not thinking, what are we already drafting next? Like you guys, sorry. I think that the interesting part about this game for me will be a lot of people have been sort of underestimating our secondary that we've got now. We're on something like our 5th or 6th string safety, Jeremy Reeves, who wasn't even on the active roster to start the season, and he's actually him and our 7th round pick Cam Curl have really come on well. And then we've obviously got Kendall Fuller from that came back from KC, and Ronald Darby from the Eagles, who's actually I'm sure he's first in the league on cornerback pass breakups or something along those lines. It's a really good start. So I think it'll be quite interesting to see how they do fare against a really stacked Bucs set of receivers, because to see whether they really are it or they've played well against lesser opponents, sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'd take that. Craig, anything else?
We would probably need to run the ball quite well. I know both boys said they've got a good run defense, but I think to keep Brady off the field is what we need to do. But also we have a good punter. No, probably one of the best. Tress Ray, good punter.
We do. Great.
And then just attack.
Yeah, that's something that's really overlooked, actually, because we got a rookie punter last year, and some of his kicks are great, and some you think, I could have done better than that, and he's leaving them at 35, 40 yards, and you're thinking, Jesus. And I didn't really, obviously, because we're reasonably new, I didn't realise how much that affected the game and contributed to the game in your early days, but no, it's a good call. It's a good call. So,
Bucs special teams, we don't believe in fair catches.
No, yeah. Just use your gunners. Washington use their gunners and just come and take return them out, and you should be fine.
The boy who catches our punt, Stephen Sims, gives me nightmares every week. He must have dropped his 5 this year.
God. My
He
God.
dropped one Sunday again, but he actually fell again. But
I don't know how he's still returning punts. I seriously don't know how he's still returning punts.
I'll
He's
draw in Danny
a
Johnson.
complete liability.
Yeah, hopefully he's not on Sunday, or sorry, gives me a nightmare.
Right, lads, we'll call it a night. But thank you all for coming on. It's been a lot of fun, and we've learned a hell of a lot considering we're complete neutrals, and we'll just be watching this. Well, we'll definitely watch this game now out of all of them. So
You guys getting early night? You guys go and get some sleep beforehand.
So this will be up on our YouTube, and we are going to hold you to every single take that you have made in this show. So if any of you get anything wrong, we're coming for you. Remember that. But yeah, we'd love to get you all on again in the future at some point, whether it's off season or next season or whenever we get the opportunity. But yeah, thank you all, and thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's been great.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us on, Danny and Cal. It was amazing. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you'll
you
have to come on ours as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Have you on
Would any of you like to shout out your accounts? I know some of you actually run fan pages as well. So if you want to drop your apps or anything, you can go for it now if you want.
Yeah, well, we've got our YouTube channel Bucs UK, myself, David, and we've got a few others as well. We've got our podcast, and please come and check us out there. We're releasing on a weekly basis, so even if you're not a Bucs fan, just come and watch us anyway. We're pretty nice over there. So we've got our YouTube channel, we've got our social media as well. So we love to interact with. Yes, we're Bucs fans, but we love to interact with all fans. So come and see us, and we don't bite. We'll welcome you with open arms, even if you do support another team. But we're always welcoming, so please come and check us out.
Perfect. Ben, you run one, don't you? Sort of.
Yeah. I've just got the on Twitter, Washington Fan UK, and it's the same on Instagram. I just like to argue with people, to be honest.
And Craig, I know you're on your own account, but we'll make sure we put you in all the posts and everything, so you can get your NFL rants out there with everyone else, like the rest of us.
No
Especially if you win anyway, I feel there'll be a bit of abuse going on.
You'll hear, don't worry.
If you win, we'll get you back on next week. Right, lads, it's been a pleasure. Let's call it a night, and we'll speak to you all soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Cheers.